Okay, this is part 2 of my Korean visa explanation videos. I'm going to be talking about F visas. F visas are, I believe, the most important. They are the ones that other visas can potentially lead up to. So what's good about F visas? Well, first of all, you can take pretty much any kind of job. You don't need a separate visa to get that job. Therefore, you are going through only the employer and not immigration. It also means that your visa is tied to you and not your employer. So if you want to quit your job, you still have your visa. On average, the F visas have the most difficult requirements because they're types of residence visas. Now right off the bat, I don't know exactly what F1s or F3s are for. It says that they're for some type of family. However, I do know that F4 is for Koreans, or at least Koreans who lived abroad who have different citizenship that's not Korean. F4 is ridiculously easy to get, and I envy the people who have it because literally all they need to do is provide documents that their parents are Korean or something like that, and they get an F4 visa for 3 years at a time. The F6 is the marriage visa. If you are a foreigner and you marry a Korean, you get an F6 visa. I heard it's a little tricky to actually get the visa because it's not just as simple as getting married on paper. I believe you have to present your marriage license. One of you has to prove that you have enough earnings to take care of each other. The Korean spouse has to provide the birth certificate. You both have to show where you're living, that you're living together, something like that. Either the foreign spouse has to be able to speak Korean or the Korean spouse has to be able to speak the language of the foreigner. You know, if you got married, you should be able to meet these requirements, and this visa, this F6 visa, is good for 3 years. The F5 is the permanent residence visa. If you have an F5, you never have to renew. However, there are a lot of ways to go about getting an F5, and many of them are very difficult. In fact, the requirements for an F5 depend on what visa you currently have. It varies for every single other visa, but you have to first have some kind of visa before you apply for an F5. If you search online, there are a lot of sources that say you can only apply if you make 3 times the national average income. This has been changed, I believe in most cases, to 2 times the national average income. There are other requirements such as having lived in Korea for a certain number of years, having been on a certain visa for a certain number of years, if you perhaps invested a huge amount of money into the Korean government or some kind of development. There are actually lots of small divisions of F5 visas. There are lots of small divisions of F2s, of all the visas. In fact, on the Korean immigration website, on the Korean version, there's a section where you can see the number of people who receive visas for every single month and every recent year. They come in both Excel and PDF files. You can see all the information. It's really interesting. All right, let's get into F2 visas. If you are a English-speaking Westerner and you're working in Korea and you're not planning to get married right away, your best bet for staying more long-term in Korea is to get an F2 visa. The F2 visa that most foreigners are aware of is the F27, which is a points-based system. In order to apply for this visa, you have to have lived and worked or be on a certain visa for, I believe, at least 1 year, and you have to meet 80 of the 120 possible points. I have the actual point sheet here. You can find it online. You can go to immigration and request it. Basically, at first glance, it looks kind of easy, but it's much harder than it looks. To sum up, you need to be strong in basically 1 of 3 areas. Either you need to make a lot of money, you have to have a big academic background with a lot of degrees, or you need to be fluent in Korean. For example, you get a certain amount of points based on which level of the TOEIC test you have passed. If you pass level 1, you get 10 points. If you pass level 6, you get 20 points, and they divide them up in between. Also, if you pass level 6 or you've taken an equivalent level language course, you can enroll for, I believe it's called the Cultural Integration Program, which is offered by the Korean government at certain locations. That counts for 10 points on this point system. Your age bracket counts for a certain number of points, with the most points being in the range of, I believe, 30 to 34. Your income counts for a certain number of points. I guess if you make less than 20 million won a year, you get 1 point, and if you make over 100 million won a year, you get 10 points, and they divide them up in between. Your degree counts for a certain number of points. I think a bachelor's degree counts for something like 25, 26 points. If you have 2 bachelors, it counts for a little more. If you have a master's degree, it counts for more. 2 masters, PhD, 2 PhD, stuff like that. This is the most common way foreigners try to get an F2 visa. And since you only need to have worked in Korea for, I think, 1 year in order to apply for this visa, at least it's sort of flexible in terms of when you can apply. The F2 visa I apply for is called the F299 visa, and for some reason it's incredibly rare. There is almost no information online in English about this visa, and the stuff that is there is outdated. For example, you used to have to write like a 4-page page essay and you needed a Korean sponsor and a bunch of stuff. Most of that is not relevant anymore. The most important qualifications that you have to have been on a visa in Korea for at least 5 years. Other qualifications: you have to have made at least the national average income. You need to get a police background check, but only in Korea, which takes literally 5 minutes to do. You need to get a statement from your bank to prove that you have a certain amount of money saved, because they want you to be able to prove that you can support yourself. You do have to write a statement of purpose, but it's only 1 page, but you need to get it translated into Korean. And you need to have passed TOPIK level 2, which is what I did. That was why I was studying for the TOPIK test. It's a bunch of random qualifications, the most significant of which is the 5-year thing, but if you've been here a while, I think it's worth applying for. So I think that covers all the major F visas in Korea, at least the ones that Western English speaking foreigners would be interested in. If I've missed anything or you have any other questions, feel free to leave comments. I hope this has helped.